about the arc pistol is it shoots an electrified attack. It is a pistol that you can charge up similar to the Grawl spike thrower or the plasma shotgun. Like so. So it is a pistol that you can charge, or you can fire it semi-automatic. And it fires very quickly. One of the faster firing semi-automatic pistols in the game, actually. And as you can see, it has a lot of shots in reserve, and it has a very large clip. One interesting aspect to this weapon is the fact that you can, like the Grawl spike thrower and the Geth plasma shotgun's double whammy shot, there are 2 shots in quick succession when you charge up a shot briefly, and then you get another shot off. Well, you can do something similar with this weapon, only from a full charge shot, and that's simply to shoot the charge shot and then just keep firing because it's semi-automatic and because its rate of fire is so much greater than that of the 2 shotguns, the 2 charge shotguns. You just charge a shot and then just keep firing right through it. So something to keep in mind. So let us compare accuracy at short range from the hip. So as you can see, very accurate, very nice. Oh, our holes are disappearing, but as you saw, very nice grouping on the head. I hate when the holes disappear, just like the eagle. I'm going to have to do this quick then. Also, let us quickly test and see if there is much better accuracy from the hip on a charge shot versus a just regular shot. So charge shot. Interesting, a charge shot actually shoots out a cluster of 3 projectiles, something to keep in mind. So that was a charge shot. So now a regular shot. Or 3. Seems to be about the same. I don't really notice a huge difference. We'll compare that more at long range and do that for a final comparison. But, so now let's do mid-range. So, thus far, quite accurate for such a fast rate of fire from the hip. Let's try mid-range from the hip. It does have a bit of a kick to it, though. Much larger spread. Far, far larger spread at mid-range. Huge difference that you can still reliably get headshots. So let's try mid to long range. I imagine things are not going to go well. Zoom in before they disappear. And again, nearly ineffective in fact. Not quite. But you can still shoot from the hip at mid to long range, but it's becoming a serious problem. And as you can even see, just from the little blue projectiles hitting, this thing has a crazy spread at long range. I can't even get shots at this point. Totally ineffective at that range, really. I did get a couple headshots, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would go for center mass. I wouldn't actually do either. I would probably go for center mass using the sights. So let's try short range using the sight, see if it makes a difference. And I can already tell you that it does. Much tighter grouping. Very accurate at short range. It was accurate at short range simply firing from the hip, but I definitely noticed a difference there. It's certainly much easier to aim with than this little, tiny reticle. So let's try this. Mid-range. Again, quite accurate at mid-range when fired down the sights, though a bit of a problem there with recoil. And I was not firing at its max rate of fire either. I was trying to actually aim, so keep that in mind. So now mid to long range. That kick is really a problem. Still doable. Down the sights, it is still doable for headshots, for center mass. Sorry guys, I'm rushed because the holes keep disappearing. What's the point of results if they disappear before the targets get back to you? Alright, so now long range down the sights. Because this weapon is such a great vertical kick, it's probably a good idea to aim low of your target and have the recoil sort of just work up to the head, like an SMG. And more effective than it was from the hip, but certainly still probably not a good idea to bother. Best to move in at that point. Let's try adding a scope to the equation. Here we go. So scope at short range. See if there's a significant improvement beyond just the regular accuracy bonus. Seems pretty accurate to me. Seems to definitely be better than both the hip and just the sights. Let's try mid-range. It's also much easier to compensate for the recoil. As you can see, huge improvement. Huge improvement at mid-range. All shots on target. Let's try mid to long. And again, a very noticeable improvement. Much tighter grouping than we had. Let's try long range. And you notice I am aiming a little low. Quickly, quickly. And again, it is better, though this weapon still isn't very accurate at long range. It did have a slightly tighter grouping, but still not very accurate at long range. It does have quite the spread at long range. So now let us compare an actual charge shot at that range and see if that makes a significant difference. The charge shot shooting out 3 pellets at once, 3 bullets at once. Let's go for headshot. Fairly tight grouping. It's a bit wide, certainly wider than I would like. Let's get a larger sample size. Come back. It seems that the spread just determines where they're all going to go. So if the spread, say, goes down, all 3 shots are down. If it goes up, all 3 shots go up, and so on. So the grouping is consistent. They're always consistently close to each other, but the spread is really what determines the accuracy of this weapon. It also does consume 3 shots on a charge shot, and there we go, a nice center headshot. So it seems that at very long range, you probably want to use charge shots and aim for the head or center mass, whereas at just about any other range, you want to go rapid fire and generally aim down the sights and aim for the head. So long range, you want to use charge shots. Other ranges, you can go rapid fire, aim for the head or whatever, which isn't to say that you couldn't go for charge shots at those ranges either. It's really just up to preference and what you think is going to be the most effective at the time. Again, I don't really want to compare damage on these targets because I do not know if they are very good representations of the enemies in the game. Different enemies have varying amounts of health, of armor, of shields, or biotic barriers, and these targets don't take into consideration headshots. So it's rather pointless and just isn't accurate enough for my taste. And I do not want to spread misinformation. So again, this is the arc pistol. It can shoot out charge shots, which sends out 3 shots at once, in a nice tight grouping, generally speaking, or it's a semi-automatic weapon and very rapid fire compared to most of the other pistols in the game. Definitely very accurate from the hip at short range, at point-blank range. Beyond that, it's probably better to use the sights or a scope, and at very long range, you probably want, at least if you're going for headshots, to use a scope and to actually charge your shot. The semi-automatic at very long range is probably not going to be accurate enough to reliably get and consistently get headshots, but you can certainly still go for center mass. Alright guys, well thanks for watching, stay tuned for more, and have